sweats, my heart rate, I could feel this pulsing. I could see going so fast. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, am I gonna die? I booked an appointment with my endocrinologist, and I said, I'm not feeling right, I'm not feeling well, I've got all these symptoms. And I remember he turned around, he said to me, well, your levels are fine.
Oh no.
I swear to you, something in me died, because I was like, my levels are fine, but I'm not fine.
Also, like, healing Graves holistically, there's not much out there at all. We're kind of in this unknown territory. So we're inviting you guys into our personal journey. We may not know all the answers, but guess what? We're going to try to figure it out as much as we can.
My name is Meron, and I'm based in the UK, and I'm the founder of Loving Me Kindly.
And my name is Priscilla, and I'm based in the United States, and I'm the founder of Healing Unapologetically.
Together, we are co-hosting our podcast, Thyroid Sisters Navigate Graves' Disease. Over the last few years, since being diagnosed with Graves' disease, we have fought to gain our lives back and are both living medication-free.
We are not medical experts. However, through our experience of dealing with this disease, we have learned so much and want to share our journey of healing and self-discovery.
We have come to realize that trusting our instincts and intuition has helped us lead healthier lives, and our goal with these podcasts is to empower and inspire you.
Hi, Meron. How are you doing?
Hi, Priscilla. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Doing good. I feel like we have a lot to catch up on because you just came back from your trip to Ethiopia. And I know before you left, you had shared that you went and got your thyroid test or thyroid lab.
Yes.
And you opened those results on WhatsApp together. So for you guys listening, Meron and I, we talk a lot through WhatsApp, and she was obviously really nervous. I know I get really nervous when I check my test. And so we did a little chat, and you opened them and we went through your test results.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And in our previous YouTube, we did Graves' disease part 1, 2, and 3. So I think in part 3 I shared that I'm gonna do test results, and I was so nervous about it and nervous about the results, and saying it out loud made me feel even more nervous because I had something to prove. So yeah.
You want to recap really quickly, like where you were at in your thyroid journey before those results, just so people can get a little bit of insight why you were nervous, or like what you were doing for your thyroid health during that time?
Oh, definitely. So the reason why I was so nervous is because 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. But I'll just talk a little bit about how I got diagnosed, because I know that everybody has a different story, and we all assume we all have the same story, but they're all very different. So for me, at the time, I was going through a really difficult traumatic experience, and I wasn't looking after myself. If I can remember, I barely even looked in the mirror. I think I was going through a mild depression, if any, and I knew something wasn't right, but I wasn't doing anything to check. And I remember seeing myself in the mirror. I think it was I was in a shop, and I saw myself in the mirror, and I got a shock, and I thought something is not right. But I was too low to do anything about it. But I just remember, I could even see how I look now. It's etched in my mind. I remember puffed face. I looked almost orange. It's just the person looking back at me was not me. And I knew that it wasn't me, but I still didn't do anything about it. And I remember having tremors. I remember my legs were shaky.
Wow.
My hands were shaky. I couldn't, at work, we have a water dispenser. And I remember being embarrassed if somebody was behind me, because I was just holding the water. You know, when you hold the cup under the water and it's just like shaky. I remember feeling embarrassed. But if you can imagine, if you've never gone through anything like this, you just think you're just too much in shock to even think anything. And at the same time, like so much stress. Actually, when I think about it, these are really horrific things. I don't know why I didn't, the emergency alarms didn't go off, but I wasn't.
I was the same. You just ignore it. You just don't want to deal with it. Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess you assume when you're young. So I would have been 24 25, 26, 26.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't think of serious health issues happening to you. I think you
Yeah.
sort of
Oh
take
yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
so I remember asking people, asking my friends, is this normal? And showing them my leg shaking and everything. And they were just like, I don't know, that doesn't seem normal.
Do you
But still
think,
do, yeah.
at the time, were you stressed? Were you thinking that the shaking was just from stress or anxiety, or like how did you try to write that off?
I didn't even attribute it to stress. You know, when you're just numb, I was in a numb place. So I wasn't even aware that I was that stressed. I think I had lived, you know what, I think I lived in chronic stress for such a long time that I was comfortable in it. I didn't even realize it was stress. It was too,
Yeah.
I didn't
Just
know
a way of living.
it was a
Yeah.
way of living.
Alive.
So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I didn't even attribute it to that. So one day I went to visit my grandma, and anyway, I accidentally, it wasn't I was accidentally given a walnut drink, a walnut smoothie, not by my grandmother, but while I was there I was given a walnut drink. And usually when I go there I have a smoothie, so I was used to having a smoothie there, but this time there was walnuts in it and they weren't aware that I was allergic to walnuts, so I drank the smoothie and I started to feel, it's so scary, I started to feel funny. And
You have a severe allergic reaction to, is it
yeah,
just walnuts or just nuts?
walnuts, pecan nuts, and pine nuts. I think these are the
Okay.
tree nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can have peanuts and stuff, but I can't have those three
Oh,
particular nuts.
okay.
And because it's a smoothie, and luckily, I just wanted to go home that day. I remember just feeling like I just wanted to go home. Like I said, I wasn't in a good mood. Like I wasn't in a good space. So I just popped in and wanted to just pop back out. So usually I'll have a glass full of a smoothie. But this time I just had this much, just a small bit, just so I could just quickly down it and go. Thank God for that. Because
Seriously.
that little bit, and I started to feel funny, my throat started to tighten, it happened so fast, and my stomach started to feel awful. And I said, is there nuts in this smoothie? And then they were like, oh my God, yes, oh my God. And I was like, okay, I just panicked and I just left. I just remember
Oh,
just going, I
yeah.
gotta go.
Yeah.
And I was pacing up and down the streets of London,
Oh
just
my
not knowing what to
God.
do. Because you know something, Priscilla, I
Mhm.
wasn't in a I wasn't very good at looking after myself at all.
Yeah.
Imagine I'm actually going through anaphylactic shock, and my first instinct is not to call 999 and get help. I was
Oh
just
my gosh.
confused. And
Yeah.
walking up and down the street, then I went and sat in a church and lit a candle. I don't know what I was doing. I was just
Wow. Just
praying,
scared.
just
Yeah.
scared and just
Mhm.
all over the place. But now thinking back, I probably had the symptoms that come with thyroid issues, like mental health all over the place, just not yourself at all. So I wasn't acting properly. I wasn't acting
Mhm.
normal. I should have
Mhm.
just gone straight to the emergency.
Hospital or something. Yeah.
And then it started to get worse, and I was burning. I was literally burning on the inside. I felt like I was dying slowly. I was dying slowly, basically.
Wow.
And I called my friend. Luckily, she picked up, and she was just like, "What are you talking to me for? Go to the ambulance. Go get a
Yeah.
taxi and go." And I remember thinking, I don't have any money for the taxi. But anyway, I called a taxi. He came. I said, can you just take me to the hospital? He saw the state I was in. Bless him. Honestly, I really do have angels in my life. He took me, this stranger took me from the taxi to the hospital, didn't charge me anything.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so
That was an
lucky.
emergency. You were in a life and death emergency
You
situation.
never know with people. I could still ask for their money. You don't know. Oh,
And
I'm
I'm glad
so
that this
grateful.
individual saw that you needed help.
I'm
Yeah.
so lucky. And they don't know how much they helped me, bless them. And the minute, they usually have to wait when you're in a accident emergency, but they saw me. I said I've taken a walnut. They saw the state I was in, and they just immediately, within seconds, I just blinked and I was in a hospital gown. I had the wrist badge and everything.
Yeah.
I was just there, and they strapped me to machines. It was so quick. No one said anything to me. That's when I knew this is really serious. Like, it was, of course it was always serious. And
Yeah.
they kept coming in giving me these pills. No one was telling me what was going on. I don't think they were aware. The machine kept blaring. It was so loud that my friend, bless her, she came all the way from her house, which wasn't close, to be with me, and it was already like 10 p.m. or something like that.
Wow.
And they said they had to teach her how to turn off the machine because it just kept going off, like the heart monitor. It just
Oh,
flared down the hospital. They were just like, we can't keep coming in and turning it off. And they taught
oh,
her how to turn it down. And I remember my skin turning translucent. Like I could see my veins. I could see everything. It was so see-through.
uh-huh.
And they they I thought that I was going to be allowed to go home that evening. I thought they fix it. You're in that habit of thinking you go hospital, they fix you, go home. You
Yeah.
don't know about chronic illness. You don't know about all these other. I wasn't aware of such
How
things.
severe it is. You just think you're going to bounce back, go home and.
They're giving me these things. Oh, back then this was my thinking. I'm very
Oh yeah.
different.
What year was this that this happened?
2014, like March
2014. And you
2014.
were 25, you said.
26, yeah, 26
26, yeah.
or 25,
Okay.
26, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I remember the doctor coming in and saying, yeah, we're going to keep you overnight because there's some things that we're not quite happy about, so you're going to have to keep you in for a few days or something like that. I remember him saying, and I was just in shock. I didn't have
Wow.
anyone to be with me. Yeah, I felt quite
Scary.
alone, to be honest.
Yeah,
Obviously
that
my friend had to
is.
go home. And so I stayed in the hospital. I remember that night. Oh my gosh, the sweats. My heart rate. I could feel this pulsing. I could see my chest
Oh, wow.
going
The
so fast.
heartbeat.
So I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, am I gonna die?" I actually was thinking that. And then I thought about my life. It's so like I remember distinctly just lying there in a hospital bed, looking up and just thinking, okay, if I'm gonna die now, that I really do want to do, I really wish I did my traveling.
Oh.
Because I had plans to do the travel to do my traveling. So I had booked tickets to go, one-way ticket to go traveling. Then I got sick and then I cancelled those tickets. So I was just like, I really wish I did that. This is just my thoughts at
Oh,
20 and
yeah.
other things. I wish I fell in love. I wish I
Oh,
was going through a list in my head of things and I was just yeah, just remember that it's like dark night of the soul, really. Because my body was just acting up, and I remember the nurse looking at my monitor and just the shock of her face, and she
wow.
saw the whatever she was looking at, and looking at her thing. I just remember, and she just quietly walked back out, and I was just like, "What is happening?" The machine's blaring, blaring, blaring.
Yeah.
And then I stayed the next day, and I think it was they still couldn't figure it out. They kept doing tests, taking me ECG, all this stuff. And then it was like the third day, a student realized, oh, I don't know what she did, what test that they did, but they came back and said, I remember the doctor, I remember his face, and it was like he was delivering me a life sentence. I remember that when I saw his face, but what he said and his face, because I don't know what Graves' disease is. And he was
Mhm.
just like, yeah, so you have Graves' disease, it's a thyroid issue, this. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what thyroid
Mhm.
was, you know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just remember his face. I just remember how he said it to me.
Mhm.
And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, okay, I have something. They figured it out. This is good.
Yeah.
That's why I've been feeling all this stuff. I have an answer. It wasn't,
Yes.
thank
Yeah.
goodness or not thank goodness for the walnut juice because that could have killed me as well, actually. But
Oh,
they
gosh.
said to me later, if you hadn't come now, if you waited one more month, then it would have been a very serious situation because you go into what's called a thyroid storm, and
Yes.
that you can lead to death, right? And because I
Yeah.
wasn't looking after myself, I
Yeah.
probably would have. It could have been a really horrible situation. So again, angels watching me.
So, really quickly to interject real quick, you were saying that you were seeing your hand shake a lot, right, prior to this exposure. So I do know, at least the way that I understood it, that that shaking hand comes from
Mm.
having rapid heart and tremors comes from the heart palpitations or like rapid heartbeat. So if anybody's listening and you're trying to figure out okay, maybe you're connecting a lot with Meron's story. Some things are resonating. If you're seeing your hands tremor, just like Meron is explaining, that's a clear sign that it could potentially be Graves related, and you do need to talk to your doctor and get that. Like, don't take that symptom or that body
Lightly.
sign lightly. Yeah, because you're definitely right. That sounds like you were already in a thyroid storm.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
really was.
that's kind of how I understood the tremors. I've never dealt with the tremors. So just as two people with Graves' disease,
Yeah.
I never had that symptom. I did have the rapid weight loss, which is
I had
also,
that too. But you see that as a plus, so you don't think that's a
I know you easily like, I was like, oh, sweet. But that could be a sign as well of your heart racing, your metabolism is wrapping up. I guess that's one of the signs. Maybe I didn't get to the point where I did feel heart palpitation, but I didn't get to the point where I was dealing with tremors. But I think that how long do you remember dealing with the hand tremors?
That's a good question. I would say a month.
Okay. So did it come on pretty quickly? Like all of a sudden you just kind of noticed the tremors?
All of a sudden, I remember my legs just, what is this shake? Just came on all of a sudden.
Yeah. So another thing is thyroid storm is not the norm. That's not Graves' disease. So Graves' disease is just the overproduction of thyroid hormones. And then thyroid storm is you have another stressor on top of that, of your autoimmune condition. So it's kind of like, it's rare. So if you're listening, don't get scared. Don't think if you have Graves' disease, you automatically have a thyroid storm. That's a unique situation that occurs when you already have Graves. But yeah, don't ignore that.
Unchecked, undiagnosed, it leads to, I think, thyroid storm. So it's checking the small symptoms. If you're feeling off, get checked. I wish I did that. I wish I had the habit of doing that.
Yeah, but you said 2014. I do feel like during that time, autoimmune conditions and even thyroid health, it was just like, I didn't know anything about, I think during that time, health wasn't that big of a subject.
As it is now.
Yeah, as it is now. And even then, hypothyroidism was more well known than hyper. Like in our intro, we mentioned that there's just a very small percentage of people that actually get Graves. So that's why we started this podcast.
Yeah, I read it. I was doing research. It's 3% of the population, but I can't remember if that's UK or America.
Yeah, I remember I read too, and I should have pulled it up, but the US is also, it's like less than 5%. I know.
Okay. So
of the US. Yeah. Anyways, so I just wanted to jump in there really quickly because
and also it's very unique. Yeah. And also
your circumstance is very unique because of that.
The walnut smoothie must have heightened everything and
I
probably was having a thyroid storm right then and there, to be honest.
I mean, if your heart was already under stress because of the thyroid, and then you had that reaction, your body was fighting to stay alive. I think that's why the doctors were maybe so shocked, because they couldn't understand. Like, they maybe know what the reaction of having what's it called again when your throat pain?
Oh, an allergy, like an allergic reaction. Yeah.
Like you were having an allergic reaction, but I think
allergic reaction. Yeah.
You were not responding to the meds the same way that, somebody else would have. There's obviously a clear sign that something else was wrong, but that's crazy that it took so long for them to figure it out.
A few days it took a student to figure it out. I remember her face and everything. And after they delivered that sentence, but I didn't know it was a sentence because I just thought, okay, well then they'll fix me now. I had no idea what I was in for the rest of my life. And I don't know if they should tell you. I mean, it's not their place. They just tell you what they need to tell you, isn't it? It's up to you to figure it out. But I was okay. They gave me the levothyroxine and I was taking that, and something else for my heart rate.
A beta blocker or something.
Yeah. But they come with the symptoms. I remember feeling drowsy and just funny for a while, and that was weird. I was glad to come off those. But the levothyroxine.
How long were you on the beta blocker?
I'd say like 3 months or something like that.
So was it once your heart regulated or got okay? Then
exactly. Yeah. Then they took me off. And the thing back when you're initially diagnosed, you get checked a lot. You get checked quite often, which is good. But then after that, they kind of leave you into this.
Yeah.
Which is
face out the lab test.
Yeah, that's another problem. But yeah, and then I was taking the levothyroxine. I rebooked my trip. This time I added Ethiopia. Before it was a one-way ticket to Bangkok, and then I was going to travel around Southeast Asia and do my solo traveling. I always wanted to travel and do solo traveling. And this time I added Ethiopia, and I was going to go and meet my biological mother for the first time. And I don't know, maybe because I went through that I didn't have a thought of meeting her before that. I had a lot of emotions. So basically my mother, I was born in Ethiopia, and at the age of 2 she gave me up, and I came to this country with my auntie and her family, because she was too poor. She couldn't look after me properly. She wanted to give me a better life. But as a kid, you don't really hear that. You just feel abandoned. It doesn't. Yeah, you just feel abandoned. So you have a lot of issues towards that. I had a lot of issues towards that, and I didn't really think about traveling to meet her beforehand. But something happened to me then, and after this ordeal, I don't know what altered it, but I booked Ethiopia, and I went, and I remember the doctors. So this was March, and I booked my trip for October 31st, 2014. So it was just a few months, and the doctors were like, no, 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 you can't go traveling. They were like, you are got a serious condition here. You need to take the meds. You need to be constantly monitored. And I just was so, which is unlike me. I would usually listen, but something in me was just like, no, I want to live my life. And because I had that thought when I was in the hospital that night, when I was thinking, oh my gosh, what if I died? I had this like this I don't know what you'd call it, zeal or whatever, to just live.
Call it the will to survive. I think
survive,
you have the will to survive and like do what do the impossible, kind of like, no, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Yeah.
After that, I felt like I was so close to death. I think you could feel
were
it. Yeah, I was.
I'm sorry, like I'm just hearing your story and it's just like,
nobody told me that. I felt it. I felt like I was. So I was like, I think that's probably why I booked that trip. So I went to Ethiopia. I met not just my mom, an entire family that I had no idea about. It was amazing. It was an amazing 6 weeks with my family, and I felt so much love, and it was just life-changing. But still a lot to take in at the same time. But anyway, I took as much of the thyroid meds, the levothyroxine. So I took a batch of that, and then after Ethiopia, I went traveling around Southeast Asia, and my friend shipped more thyroid meds for me. So I continued it, and I was very good at diligently taking my thyroid meds. And when I came back after about 8 months, I think, of traveling, because the doctor initially told me what you're doing is not good. And then when I came back, he was like, well, I don't know what you've done, but you've done something right, because you don't need to take any more meds. He's like, you don't need to take any more. So your levels have stabilized. So I was like, okay, great. And then I thought that was me done with this, good riddance of this disease. No. When I came back, although they took me off the meds and I no longer needed the meds, I still had all these awful symptoms. I was depressed a lot. I was in just low moods, always getting an infection after infection, always sick, always just trying to survive, and not being able to hold a job. I remember I got fired from a job because I was getting sick a lot. That was nice. Then you just think, okay, I'm not even employable, and you just start to really spiral. And I remember going back to the doctor, and they were like, why are you back? You don't need to come and get your checkups anymore. And I was like, what? And they were like, okay, well, while you're here, we'll do your test, but you don't come back here just like you used to before. And I was just like, where do I go then? I just felt so...
So was that your endocrinologist that you were going back to? Or was that okay? So they didn't,
because you go off so often to get the bloods done.
Yeah.
I just thought, if I don't feel well, right, let me go and get my bloods done. And they were like,
so let me ask a really quick question. I don't mean to interrupt you, because you're based in the UK and I'm based here in the United States.
Yeah.
Do you need a referral to see the endocrinologist from your regular doctor? Or can you just go directly to your endocrinologist? I ask because here in the United States, we have to get I had an HMO plan. So for the US listeners, you guys know that's like the basic healthcare, like insurance. So I have to get a referral in order to see the endocrinologist. And then I had that 1 year with the endocrinologist. That referral was good just for 1 year.
Yes.
And then you got to get it renewed.
I didn't know about that.
I don't know if that's what they were referring with you.
Okay. So I for that 1 year, they kept checking you regularly. So I just thought, okay, I don't feel well. Where am I? I mean, you're just so confused by everything. You don't understand what's going on with your body.
That's another topic.
That's another topic.
People get so lost because the
I
healthcare
was
system
lost.
misplaced them. Yeah.
Where else am I going to go? I go to the
Yeah.
place where they, where they were helping me before. They
Yeah.
know me by by name. Oh, it's hi.
Yeah.
Hi. You know all the nurses and things and doctors by first name. They know you. You come in so often, and then you come this time, and then they're like, no, no, no. And I'm like, well, I don't feel right. I don't know. So I booked an appointment with my endocrinologist, and I said I'm not feeling right. I'm not feeling well. I've got all these symptoms, and I remember he turned around. He said to me, "Well, your levels are fine."
Oh no.
I swear to you, something in me died because I was like, what does, yeah, my levels are fine, but I'm not fine. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you.
Yeah.
I felt so, when you're already going through so much and spiraling and feeling so low and sick and this is the doctor, this is the place where you're supposed to get the help, and they're like, well, you're supposed to feel fine. That really does something to you. You
So
really lose hope.
how long was it since you've been off your medication when you went and made this phone call? Like were you
That's a good question. I would say like 3 or 4 months
okay? And were
after.
these symptoms, were you already feeling like that like while you were taking medication, or
I
was it
wasn't.
progressively getting worse?
I wasn't,
Okay.
or I was
Okay.
enjoying myself too much because I was traveling. So I was like in different scenarios and different environments, and just
Yeah.
I wasn't, my body wasn't used to having a chronic illness, if that makes sense. I was still
Yeah.
used to my
You were
old
on
life.
vacation, everything stopped. Like you weren't
I
dealing
don't
with
know what it means to have a
yeah.
chronic, it hadn't hit me yet. And I was
Okay.
enjoying myself and traveling and stuff. I was
And when
tired,
you
I'd have
came back
fatigue. I would have
was
that.
okay.
Then when
So
I
what
came
time you
back,
came back? Yeah.
I caught a lot of viral infections nonstop, on and on and on. They put me on antibiotics. That made me worse. And then it was
Oh,
just this constant cycle of getting sick.
yeah.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
at one point it hits you. Oh, this is a chronic illness. Oh,
Yeah.
it's not something where you're gonna get better from it. And I don't want to go back on the meds either. I don't want to, I just wanted to fix it, not
Yeah.
superficially fix it, not with something I wanted it just to heal. That's how I am with
Yeah.
anything. I just love to get to the root cause. Why aren't we talking about the root cause of things? Why aren't they helping me on a root cause level and trying to help me out with that? And also, why are you telling me that I should feel better? That was that I think at that point is when I just lost all hope. And then um yeah. So since then, I from 2014 or oh no, 2015, let's just say end of 2015 till now has been me figuring it out on my own,
Yeah.
just trying to empower myself and read up and get immerse myself in it, try to find the root cause and find my healing myself, just trying to figure it out. So I haven't been back on the medication.
Okay.
And over the years I've stabilized in terms of my symptoms. I found a job that was just easy on me, not too stressful. I figured
Mhm.
out stress is what makes me feel worse. I figured out a lot of things. It really was a journey of self-discovery, a
Mhm.
deep, deep, deep unlearning things,
Yeah.
getting away from toxic behaviors and toxic people, and surrounding myself as much with love. And to be honest, it's not until my trip now, when I went to see my biological family in Ethiopia just over the Christmas period now, that I really saw how healing love is. That
Mhm.
is everything. And
Okay.
I'd love to do another test, to be honest. But anyway, so
Oh,
I did.
yeah.
I'm just curious now what my levels, but
Yeah.
so I hadn't been on medication for a long time. I've tried to figure it out. Then I had my wedding 2022. Yeah, last year May. So
Mhm.
the run up to a wedding is very stressful. On top of that, I
Mhm.
had other stress that sent me into another level. Again, I wasn't looking after myself. I allowed this stress. Well, I didn't really have a choice. It was just
It just
dysfunction and things
happened.
like
It's
that.
life. Life is
It's
stressful.
life is stressful, and it was a horrible situation. On top of that, I had to plan a wedding and everything. So it was a very stressful year last year, but we had a beautiful wedding. Thanks to God, somehow we pulled it through, me and my husband. It was just us trying to make this wedding happen. And it was a beautiful wedding. But and all I kept thinking, as a bride, you have all these other thoughts of your wedding day, what you like it to be like, and just imagining things. all I was thinking was, please don't let me get sick. Please don't let me get sick. Please don't let me get sick. Because I want to enjoy my wedding day. I don't want to feel fatigued and low and all this stuff. And I didn't. I think adrenaline got me through.
Oh, yeah.
So about maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks after my wedding, I started to spiral again. And then this one was different kind of symptoms to the hyper that I experienced in 2014, the hyperactive, the heart rate. It was so fatigued, so exhausted, dry skin. I remember just lathering it with as much coconut oil or anything I could find, just dry, and my hair so dry. I had to write it down because it's a lot of things, and it was depression in the sense of so numb. Nothing meant anything to me anymore, and that's not me. Just numb. It's a horrible space to be. It's like you're neither alive nor dead. It was just like this middle limbo, and I wasn't myself, and that was horrible. I knew I wasn't myself. Heavy periods, so cold all the time. I had all these symptoms: dry skin, poor sleep, muscle aches, which I can't. That's what I can't handle. The muscle aches when you wake up and you just everything hurts you. And I went to the GP and I just broke down and I just said, I'm not okay. I don't know what's going on. I'm just not okay. And I did tests, but not with my GP. It's with a private thyroid, like they're called Country Health, and I do it through them. I did blood tests and it came back and he literally said, your results have deteriorated. All your levels have deteriorated. You need to take medication now, because they never said I needed medication. They gave me a whole list of supplements to take, and now they said your levels are really bad, you need to take these medications. So I think it was Armour Thyroid and all this and all that and all that. And I thought, no, I'm not going backwards. I can't go backwards. I'm gonna figure it out. And everyone around me was like, shouldn't you be taking the medication? Why aren't you taking the medication? And inside of myself, I was like, I've come this far. I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to spiral backwards, because I know that I've had a stressful year and a half. So that I know that's impacted me. Whereas before I was better at staying out of stress and trying to prioritize my health, This was just, I was immersed in it. Got the wedding planning and everything. So I knew this was my intuition. I had to just, I don't know what happened where I blocked everybody's what everyone was saying, and I was just listening to what my heart was telling me to do. And it was just I needed a break from work. So the GP signed me off for a month, bless her. I don't think she was even supposed to. I think it's supposed to be 2 weeks, but she just saw the state I was in. She put me for a month. So I said to myself, right, Meron, you've got 1 month to prove, like, to make a difference, so that you could tell everybody that you don't need to get on the medication. So I just told everybody around me who was saying get on the medication, okay, look, let me just do the things that I'm planning to do. If it doesn't work, I will think about getting on medication. I knew I had 1 month where I don't have to stress about work, but I just have to focus on myself. So I did a whole bunch of things. I took my probiotics in the morning. For some reason, I decided to take celery juice. I was so desperate, and I just thought, what can I, because I do things all the time anyway to help myself, but for some reason this needed extreme intervention or something. And I just thought celery juice, and I started taking the celery juice. I stupidly forgot that it's obviously I'm detoxing my body. I wasn't taking anything to help that, like, is it chlorella or charcoal? I don't know, there's things that you can take that binds to the toxins, helps it out of your body rather than you go for the detox symptoms. I forgot. And I didn't even realize I was doing a detox. I just was going by what my heart was telling me, do celery juice every day. Then I went through the detox symptoms. I got so sick. I felt like I was just leaking, everything coming out. My chest had so much congestion. Oh my gosh, the amount of phlegm coming out of my chest, the amount the sweating for like 2 or 3 weeks was just detoxing. And then that just showed me how much I needed that. I needed that detox, how much was inside of my body that needed to that wasn't helping me. And after the month, I still didn't take the test though. I what else did I do? So I like journaled in the evenings and just did a lot of things that was for me and prioritized myself. I didn't go meet anybody. I was so good at just prioritizing myself. This was my month. And I just carried things on. I worked from home. I don't think I went into work physically. I was working remotely. So I was pacing myself. I did therapy in November. And then everyone's asking me, have you done the test yet? Have you done the test yet? I was like, so nervous to take the test because
so this is late
20.
This is late last year in 2022 that you did all this. Yeah.
So like September, October is when October was that month.
Yeah. That you had off.
Yeah, that I had off October. And then November I started the therapy, and December was when I was going to fly to Ethiopia. So I promised that I would do the test before I fly, but I kept putting it off. And then I took the test, and then I called you up and when I got the results. So there we are. That's that's the journey to the test. And I mentioned in our previous episode that I would tell everybody my test results and to see that could I do it with trusting my intuition and just looking after myself and nurturing myself. Because the doctor said you're not going to be able to do this through supplementation. You need to take the meds word by word. That's what the doctor said. So I thought, oh, I'm in trouble now, but I did it anyway. I did the thing that I needed to do, and here we go.
Okay.
Test results are in. So my CRP level, that's the inflammation marker, was in August of 2022, 12.9. And then by December, when I got my results, it went down to 7.2. So
inflammation went down.
Yeah, inflammation went down.
From what I understand, I don't think in the US we get that. That's not a standard testing.
Oh,
just FYI for the listeners. Yeah.
It's not a standard test. No, it's not a standard test. This is all through the private. If I did
gotcha.
they would just do the usual TSH, I think, level.
Yeah.
No, I do it by the private place.
Okay.
They do everything.
Oh, that's cool. So this is a big difference between just standard and then when you're dealing with private care.
You really know what you're what you're dealing with. My vitamin B12 was really high before, which isn't good. Maybe I over supplemented. It was 256 or above that, and then it went down to 165. My
normal range.
Yeah, well, it's improvement. It's getting it's an improvement.
Okay.
My vitamin D improved from 76 to 130, so it's in the optimal range because it shows whether you're in the green or the red zone. So that's really good. Now the juicy thyroid.
Well, everything you mentioned is important too.
Very important. Yeah, they're all very important. And also my iron levels improved from 38 to 46, which is good because it was a bit on the low end before. So TSH. And I remember I kept saying that I wanted to start a family now. I got married, I want to start a family now. So I had to have my thyroid ranges in a certain place. So before, in August, it was 3.89. And then in December, it went down to 1.71. Isn't that huge?
Yeah.
That is a huge drop.
Big time.
That is really good.
Yeah.
My free T3 went from 3.9 to 4.4. So that's still within the range. Between 2 and 4 is good. My free thyroxine went from 4.9 to 15.4. It's still within the range. The range is 12 to 22. My thyroid thyroglobulin antibodies went from 15 to 17. So it's still within the range.
Yeah. Oh, that's low. Yeah.
And the thyroid peroxidase antibodies, which was really high, it was 293. Went down to 270, and that to me is a win because just getting any level down, making a shift, making a difference, is a huge win.
It's a huge, because one thing I know my doctors tell us is that antibodies don't go down on their own, or that they just don't really consider antibodies ever going down because it's so, I don't know, they don't understand it.
They don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard. I feel like I barely understand it too. It's just. Yeah.
Well,
that's so awesome.
It's amazing. And then I
Yeah.
wonder now, since I've come back from Ethiopia, has it got even better? Because I feel better.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. So, because you talked a lot about the symptoms that you were feeling, right? How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling good because I no longer have to take all my supplements. And
Yeah.
it's a long list of supplements that I take.
Yeah.
It is so long. I can't believe that I no longer have to take it. Collagen, vitamin C, chromium, selenium, turmeric, omega, probiotics, vitamin D3, K2, I can't say that one.
I know
Iron,
some.
dandelion, coenzyme, Q10, blueberry, MSM, probiotics. And since going to Ethiopia and eating fermented food daily, because that's what they eat there, and coming back, I no longer have to take that. I feel like I'm getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I have less fatigue, no aches, no muscle
Oh, that's
aches.
good.
But yeah, it's just been, I feel like I'm going on the up.
That's amazing. I think especially since it's not just the results that are showing that have improved, but your symptoms.
Yes.
Exactly what a lot of people complain about is labs show that everything is good, but symptoms are the same, if not worse. Wow, Meron, your story is so inspiring. I think that
Thank you.
it's so important to hear how the journey affects each one of us very differently. Like I mentioned a little bit how there were symptoms you definitely had that I didn't experience. And there's just so much insight. But I think that one thing you mentioned that was like going off in my mind, like a light bulb, was that you were able to get a month off. And I think that sufficient rest, like just having sufficient rest without the pressure of the 9 to 5, the hustle and bustle, the having to show up for other people. I think that as autoimmune sisters who have this thyroid issue, I do feel like there is a connection between us all that I noticed that a lot of us, we give more
Yeah, absolutely.
than we do to ourselves. Like we say yes to other people a lot. We don't want to disappoint people. We overly just give, and we kind of leave ourselves last on our list.
Absolutely.
And I remember hearing, I'm going to have to pull up maybe on our next podcast where I can mention the emotional connection that I feel like a lot of people with autoimmunity and chronic conditions we connect with on the emotional level, but it definitely has to do with not wanting to disappoint in people around us, giving more and not saying no enough. We suppress a lot of our feelings. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a book called How to Say No. I mean, it's that bad. I have to have a book to teach me. I have a
I'm
book on
telling you.
boundaries. I was
Oh
like,
my
what is
goodness.
this? I didn't know about boundaries before.
We'll have to do a poll on that.
Yes.
On the poll on if you're listening, we're going to be doing polls at the end of this podcast. But one of the polls that I think will be very important is how many of us who do have autoimmunity, whether it's different conditions and not just Graves, because this is about Graves' disease, but it's about autoimmunity as well. So anybody who's listening, if you have an autoimmune condition, there's so much information here that's going to help you regardless if it's not thyroid related. But I do think there are a lot of common threads when it comes to like how we emotionally express ourselves that connect us. I do feel like we are kind of similar emotionally. We're cut from the same cloth when it comes from like our emotional being, like the way that we process our emotional feelings and stuff like that. I just feel like I connect with a lot of people when we share that, how we emotionally process life. Like I'm like, oh, I do that too.
We are
Like,
the
you get in your head a lot. You can overthink. We have we have more high anxiety. There's just a lot of things that we can connect.
We're emotionally very sensitive. Like our emotional tentacles are just catch everything. Is it like, is that what you mean?
Yeah. We just kind of process emotional situations, or like, I don't know how to explain, not emotional situations, just like the way that we process our emotions are very similar. But you mentioned sufficient rest. And I think that that's kind of like a mental break from having to constantly give to everybody else, and you're just able to focus on yourself. That was just like sticking out to me. That's really, really amazing that you had a GP that was able to,
another angel in my life. See,
give you medical leave. That is something that I think that would be another good conversation is how to use the healthcare system, how to find the right support, because I believe it's all about creating a team, right? It's not just doing this by yourself. You have to create a team. And this is why we're doing this podcast. We want to be part of your little team that you can kind of come in and tap and get information. But the whole point is to create a little team of resources, your doctor, your moral support. You have the podcast information like us. You have friends and family. You have your doctors that you can tap in and grab what you need, grab what serves you. And I think a lot of times people think they have to take in everything that they're being told, and they sometimes fight their own intuition. And I think you just gave the perfect example of balancing that, of taking what you needed, but not taking the whole bag, just saying, no, I need this from my doctor, and I need this, I need rest, I need to be at home, I need a detox, I need to tap into my own
knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
So that's a question we can ask people. How many of you, all of you who are listening, have used your intuition when dealing with your autoimmune condition?
Yeah.
That's the question. And we'll I'd love to see your answers for that.
Yeah.
How many people out there use their intuition and their innate instinct?
Or how many people, also another question to ask, go against their intuition? Because I think that in the medical, and not just medical, but in life, I know we're all like, dang it, I knew I shouldn't have done that.
I feel like you always know. Yeah.
You kind of always know. You have people do, and I think that people, you have that little voice, that kind of tells you, but you downplay it, because a lot of time intuition isn't based on reason. It's just a feeling. And I think that,
subtlest feeling, like you should drink more water. It could be so small. And you should just, you shouldn't go out today, that you haven't slept well, and just it's such a tiny little thing. It's just a tiny little voice that we
whispers. They're little whispers. Yeah. And I think that depending on how old you are, I got diagnosed in my mid 30s or like early 30s. You got diagnosed in your mid 20s.
Yeah.
I think that those whispers can kind of be stronger, or they can almost just be like a faint whisper as you get older. Like, I think that my intuition was fading out as I was getting older. Like I was ignoring a lot of the symptoms, a lot of the signs that I kind of felt like out of sight, out of mind. If I don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. And I think that only made things worse. I only got worse and worse until I was diagnosed. And then all of a sudden this voice reemerged, right? My intuition reemerged and said, no, it's time to take control. And, but your story also touched a lot. I noticed you mentioned that when you were there in the hospital bed after having the severe, deadly allergic reaction to walnut, you were kind of like thinking about your life, what you didn't do. And we're kind of going to be prefacing our next podcast on exactly that, grieving that life, that before and after, before your diagnosis, after your diagnosis. And you and I have talked a lot about that we went through this grieving process. And I think there are a lot of you out there that have gone through that. And sometimes we don't know that it's grief, that it's just, we don't know how to place that feeling.
No,
it's a grief. Yeah, it's a grief. A lot of people think, why does this happen to me? And I think that that's just a very, like a very just one-off comment, but it's really grief. You're really grieving.
Stage 1.
Denial. Yeah, that's denial. That is source. The root cause is just you're grieving this life that you feel like you've lost. Yeah, that you didn't get to live, or you don't understand now. And I think you and I have very good perspectives on, since it's been so many years now that we've been diagnosed and we've gone through that grievance, and we can kind of shine light on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember from when I grieved to the point that I accepted it, and that is a story in itself. I actually wrote it in a blog called Dear Graves, Thank You. Oh. Imagine saying thank you to a disease that's ruined your entire life. So if you want to find that, that's on my blog, and that goes through my grief.
I think I also might have a blog. I'm not really good at keeping up with my blog. Sorry about that, you guys. It's just life with a baby just took over. But I think I remember also mentioning like the step of how my grief grievance looked like when I was diagnosed also. We'll try to link that
We'll
stuff
go-
down below or something, if you want to read up on it. But just know you're
we'll
not
go into
alone.
it.
Yeah.
We'll go
And it's
into
a
it next
very
episode.
normal,
Yeah.
yes, a very normal feeling to feel. But I think that both Meron and I can shine light on it. It doesn't have to be a death sentence, like you mentioned that your doctor was kind of giving you. It
No,
does
this
not
is
have to be
proof.
like
There
that.
is hope. There is
Yeah.
hope. And
Yeah.
that's what we want to share. We want to empower
Yes.
and inspire. And in doing so, still helping ourselves because we're still learning from each other.
Yeah.
It's a learning curve.
Yeah. Also, like, healing graves holistically, there's not much out there at all. We're kind of in this unknown territory. So we're inviting you guys into our personal journey. We may not know all the answer, but guess what? We're going to try to figure it out as much as we can.
Yeah,
That's why we're having these conversations, is because we're always asking why. We're always trying to figure it out. So it's not always about having the perfect solution, but getting closer to it. And that's how we start to get better, right?
Brilliant. Love it. Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you for joining and listening. And
thank you, everyone.
Tune in next time for our next episode. It's going to be on grief, and we're going to leave a poll, hopefully, at the end of this one. If not, just comment and just share. We're always here. We'll have our information also linked below if you guys want to reach out, send a message.
Comment on the YouTube. We'll have stuff on YouTube, but we'll also have it up on all the different podcast channels. On Spotify, we'll put the poll up. Please engage. Let's grow this community. Let's grow and raise awareness and keep this going. Yeah. That is the end of this week's Thyroid Sisters Navigate Graves' Disease podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found it useful and enjoyable. Please do follow and subscribe to our podcast so that you are the first to hear about new episodes.
And if you're enjoying them, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this will help us so much. The bigger the show gets, the bigger the awareness raised.
You can find us on social media using the handle @lovingmekindly and also the handle @healing_unapologetically. Until next time.